Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for this month's Cloud podcast with me, Robert Coyasso, and
Major Hayden.
So we got a bunch of great questions from everybody this week, and we'd like to say sorry that we can't answer them all, but we did pick out 4 of them that we're going to talk about. So
the first one we had was about cloud servers and how the data is stored on each server. The second one was talking about the security on the private interface on cloud servers and how that's important.
Right, we're also going to talk about something that I wrote called the Deployatron, and we're also going to talk about a team that I run also called Professional Services, or the ProServe group, here in the Rackspace Cloud.
So when you have a cloud server, your data is actually going to be stored on the same host machine where your cloud server resides. So it's going to be a RAID 10 storage volume. So you get the performance of RAID 0, but you also get the redundancy of RAID 1. So you get really good performance, plus if there's an issue with the machine or we lose a drive or something like that, we can get it replaced and get the data back online. But even still with that, it's important to make backups.
Right, so one of the things you'll want to do is, back up your data, and you can do that using the Jungle Disk product that's available through Rackspace. Or you could use the Cloud Files API and write your own set of scripts to back up the data, or spin up a cloud server and send the data via rsync to another cloud server.
Yeah, and that'll protect you just in case the host machine does happen to go down or something happens with a disk or the RAID array is lost or something like that. So that'll give you one extra step of protection.
Right. One of the things I think is important if you're building a site that's supposed to be HA or high availability is to use a load balancer and have multiple web servers or multiple MySQL servers or whatever your data source is. And there's lots of things that are available to allow you to do load balancing, like Nginx or HA Proxy, those types of software packages. That way you have a level of redundancy within your application. So in case we do have a problem with the host machine, your site stays up and running.
A lot of customers where they'll think about a lot of security on their public interface, and they'll use IP tables, they'll use any type of filtering, rate limiting that they can find. But a lot of times the private interface is forgotten. So this is the interface that faces inside the data center. So the only people who can actually access your cloud server on that interface would be other people who are using cloud servers. And while most of the people that we host are perfectly fine, there's always a chance that a cloud server could be compromised, or there's a possibility that somebody could be doing something rogue on their cloud server. So you want to be careful to secure that interface, so just in case something like that did happen and you did get attacked on that interface, you'd be just as secure as if someone attacked you on the public interface and you had all those rules in place.
Right, so you want to make sure that you apply the same IP tables rules that you apply to your ETH0 interface. You want to make sure you do the same thing to your ETH1 interface to make sure that's protected.
And another thing that can help is just set up your daemons to only listen on the public interface if they only need to be there. If they only need to be on the private interface, only set them up to listen there.
Right. And one of the best things, I think, for the private interface is if you have separate database servers, separate database cloud servers, you can set up IP tables rules to only communicate to that specific internal IP of that MySQL database server, as an example.
And of course, for additional security, use SSL between your cloud servers at all times.
Right. Give me a little bragging rights here. I wrote something called Deployatron, and actually Harper Reed, Harper on Twitter, came up with the name, and he made it pretty. And if you don't think it's pretty now, then you should have seen it when I first printed it out. So what it allows you to do is with your API credentials, your username and your API key that are available from the manage.rackspacecloud.com portal is allow you to do kind of a 1 or 2 click install of WordPress and Magento right now. And what happens is you choose the size, you choose the flavor of the distribution. Right now it's only CentOS and Red Hat that are available. I'll be working on providing other distributions soon. It's kind of difficult for me to give you an exact timeline, but you choose the size, you choose the distro, and then it deploys a cloud server with either WordPress or Magento, all for you, ready to go. So no configuration on your part. The server is up-to-dated automatically, so you don't have to worry about the initial security. I also set up IP tables rules automatically. with the private interface already protected.
That's perfect.
You know, for those of you that aren't very comfortable setting up something from scratch, you know, you can use my tool to do that, and it's a deploy.collazo.ws, COLLAZO.
And on that install, it automatically installs 2 plugins, right? Or
Yeah, on the WordPress install, it installs 2 plugins. One is CDN tools, which will allow you to use cloud files for CDN capabilities, which I think is really great. You know, our partnership with Limelight really provides you, you know, or your end users fast access to your static content, images, videos, CSS, JavaScript, all that kind of good stuff. And the other one is the WP Supercache, which reduces the load on your cloud server by not having the database queried on every single page view, unless, of course, you configure it to do that. So it can actually, you know, rather than maybe requiring a 512 meg cloud server, you can get away with having a 256 meg cloud server because of the caching stuff that WP Supercache does.
cool.
So ProServe, the group that I lead here in the cloud, is for the customers that maybe aren't sure about their architectural requirements. They're just starting out with the cloud and they want to use cloud servers, and they're really used to a traditional managed environment and all the things that go along with that. What my group tries to do is provide that level of service and experience and help with architecture and design, database tuning, code reviews, load balancing, you know, all that kind of good stuff, that high-end experience or high level of well, I can't think of the word, high level of knowledge, I guess, that we have that, you know, that comes from our long years of toiling here at Rackspace.
It's like having your own expert that you
Yeah.
pick up the phone and call.
Definitely.
So are you seeing you've already had a few clients utilize ProServe, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
are you seeing a lot coming from dedicated environments to the cloud, or like what kind of is it?
Yeah, so we see a lot of people who are coming from a dedicated environment or who have been doing their infrastructure themselves in their own data centers, and they're really not sure about how the cloud works and, you know, what the best practices are to make sure that things are always available, that, you know, give them that high level of availability or scale. You know, people that want to resist the Oprah effect or, you know, the dig or Slashdot effect, and they're not really sure how to do that, so we provide advice on how to configure your architecture to do that.
So thanks for joining us on the Cloud Podcast. We were glad to have you here today. And keep sending in all your questions. We'll try and answer as many as we can. And if you send in a question, we'll send you one of these Cloud t-shirts.
Yeah, so thanks again. We really appreciate it. A lot of great questions. Sorry we couldn't get to them all, but please keep them coming. Thank you.
Thanks. Be careful about this. Man, I might have to start that over because I didn't think about it before I got started. I'm gonna stop and restart.
Start the whole thing over?
In volume on the exact same host machine. So, oh man, God. Dude, the camera is totally messing me up.
Pretend it's not there.
Do that again? That's kind of funny. Okay, good.
Don't put that in the final video.